friends and neighbors. Welcome in the light, where laughter's the answer and hearts are shining bright. With calloused hands and wits, so raise your sharp. Let's praise a place where love ignites the spark.
Hello, friends and neighbors, and welcome to Sunnyside. Well, I was gone for a week. I actually wasn't gone. I wasn't away from Sunnyside. I was just really busy, and there are some things that I was needing to get done. And just to be honest with you, I didn't have the time to... That's not true. You can always make time. I'm sorry. I just didn't have a show last week. I wanted to discuss a few things with you today and get on with it because there are a lot of things happening out here. First of all, a couple of weeks ago, Heidi and I, we did end up purchasing some additional land to our southwest, and so we've been going through the process of getting that all wrapped up and taken care of. It's kind of exciting because it's almost another 80 acres that we're looking forward to developing for cattle as we look to build the cattle baron operation, whatever you want to call it. I'm not a cattle baron, but it is fun to say that. At least it is fun to tell people that you're a cattle baron. You can't have 10 steers and be a cattle baron. I realize that, but at least now I feel a little more comfortable wearing a cowboy hat. So more to come on all of that. We've got some great plans for it. It's really not good land. It's not a good farm. It's not good farmland at all. Really, probably best suited for pasture. And then it does flood a lot. And so there's some things we're going to try to do to mitigate the effects of that flooding down there in that low bottom area, and there's a nice pond and sort of a second pond that is could be developed a little bit more, and other cool things about the property. But you know, it's not good farmland, and it was used as a county site for a long time. For mining gravel and storing gravel, and there's still some gravel down there that the county will have to remove, and they've got several months to do that. So I think by next fall they have to have all of their gravel removed and all of that other stuff. So I'll keep you up to date on what happens down there. We're still thinking of what a cool name would be for that as we try to develop that additional part of Sunnyside. It does help kind of tie our family, the larger family farm together. It was kind of notched out on the south end of the family property, and so it's kind of nice for us to have that too. And to be honest with you, I spent a lot of time growing up there. I mean, since I was knee-high to a grasshopper, my brother and I would go down there and catch frogs, and we do some fishing later, and there's swimming and just different things over the course. I'm trespassing down there on county property for decades, and of course we weren't the only ones. Lots of people from around the area looked like to go fishing down there and ice fishing and different things like that. And so that was actually the biggest concern, wasn't it? When people told me, it's like, hey, I heard you guys are thinking about buying that place. What about fishing? Can I fish over there? And I'm like, we'll see. Maybe it'd be nice, And so we're looking forward to it. Very exciting for us, and all of that is happening. So lots of plans and lots of development things that we have to get sorted out, including getting that pasture figured out and fencing and a lot of different things that have to happen when you're going to develop a property specifically for rotational grazing, which is what we're going to do, because we think that that's a good way to raise cattle and animals in general. And so that is, it's getting into the fall already. It is now officially autumn, which is my favorite time of year. And so there is a renter farmer that has some crops down there, and he's got his rent lease into February. So we'll see how his harvest goes this fall, and how soon we'll be able to get in there to do some of this flood mitigation stuff that we're planning on doing that hasn't been done for 50 years. So we'll see if we can make an impact or not. And that obviously will change our plans depending on how successful we are. But so that was happening, and there's obviously the preparation for my father-in-law's funeral and memorial service, and I'm near completion of building the the unique box for his cremains, which is a lot of pressure, to be honest with you. It's just a box, and if you were to ask him, he would. In fact, he did tell me many years ago, like, just get a cardboard box, get a good sturdy cardboard box, that'll be good, or a pine box. You can make a pine box if you want. That's not what I'm doing. I'm trying to make it nice and beautiful for the family, that they appreciate it, and so it's taking a little bit of time, but I want it to be nice, and then we bury it. But that's been happening, and then I also have this. To be honest, the last week, Heidi was gone on a business trip for a few days, and so that changed the schedule for me a little bit. And I am in the middle of a war with army worms. And if you don't know what army worms are, they're not from our neck of the woods. They're from down south. It's like the exact. It's the reciprocal relationship of snowbirds, where we send our old people to the south, and then they soak up the sun and avoid the winter here in the Midwest by going to places, wherever, Florida, Alabama, Arizona, wherever they happen to go, New Mexico, Texas, you name it. And instead, so from the south, they, in the fall, depending on when you get these big, like Midwestern storm systems that just blow from the south up into the north, they carry these little moths, these little bastard moths of army worms, whatever they are, and then they come in, and it's just happenstance. Like wherever they get blown into, they land and they lay their eggs, and then these you don't know that's happened, and then all of a sudden your yard is dead. And they will eat through everything, and it's just terrible. Or as Charles Barkley would say, terrible, just terrible, and it is terrible. I had to treat my the yard in front of the barn where the studios here are located at Sunnyside. It was the best yard this summer, and then now it looks like a dormant golf course in Missouri in the winter. It's brown, and everything else is green around it. And so they don't cross the road. The worms don't cross the road. They just keep eating away. And so I just sprayed, what is it, pyrethrin or permethrin or whatever, just like all over, in, I hope, the correct amount. And here's the worst part. This has happened before, and I had to redo the entire yard in front of the house. They didn't do that to the house this time. Now it's in the barnyard. I think it is going to be salvageable because I think I caught it. I mean, they definitely browned it down, and I think that the grass is going to be good enough that it's going to be able to come back. There's still a lot of green underneath the stuff that they damaged. So I'm hoping that will come back, and I am going to overseed it just to be sure. I'll do a pre-winter drill seeding to overseed to keep that lawn looking beautiful. I do like planting in the just before the first snow. I think that is very good because seeds like to be frozen, and then they wake up as soon as that warms up a little bit, and then they go right into germination. And the snow and the nitrogen in the snow and the moisture and all of that keeps them in place over the winter and provides a little something for them. So I'll have to do that. This is the worst part with the alfalfa field. Yeah, they got in the alfalfa, and so they come up from the south and they just drop in and they lay their eggs and they just destroy. They just eat everything. And so, they really got in the alfalfa field. I treated that last week. I was spraying and trying to kill these dang army worms. And I think we've got some success there. But again, I'm going to have to overseed my precious little alfalfa field. And so I won't get my fourth cutting. I really like the fourth cutting. That's usually the turns out to be the prettiest cutting. Like, that just the days are shorter and it's usually drier this time of year. You don't have to worry about rain. And so it stays green and it dries really nice. And I use that to blend in with the feed that I grind for our cattle because I like to have that alfalfa flavor in there, and it smells good, and the cows like it, so it helps them gain, with the grain, and then of course they're out on pasture the rest of the time. And so I have plenty from last year's cutting to be able to do that just for 10 cows, but this fourth cutting, not being able to do that this year, it'll be interesting to see, if I'll have that for later in the year next year with that group of cattle. So hopefully I can get that that alfalfa back and going. That 7 acres of alfalfa and keep it coming on. So I've got plenty of hay. We're fine there. But I had to tell some people that were, interested in buying hay this year that I'm sold out, and not just because of that, but because we have our own cattle, and I do have some longer term customers that kind of place their orders earlier. So that blah blah blah. That's the alfalfa. So I've been at war with an army, and the army is made up of worms, and they are wicked. They're wicked. They fly up here from the south somewhere. And they just consume everything here. And then they're not from here. So as soon as that first frost comes, they all die. So it's not like they're going to keep reproducing or anything like that. And I don't want to wish for an early frost, but maybe I do. Maybe just freeze them, get rid of these dang army worms. And speaking of the Army, not worms, but the Army, Army National Guard, I had the opportunity on Friday to go down to Cedar Falls and be the announcer for kind of, I guess, the MC for the retirement ceremony of one of my buddies, First Sergeant James Johnson. He was a recruiter for me when I was in charge of recruiting and First Sergeant, and I've known him, I think, since 2008. He's just been a real solid character in my life, and just a good listener. He's a good leader. He does things his own way, that's for sure. He started out in the Marine Corps and ended up being a recruiter for a long, long time with the National Guard. He deployed to Iraq with the Marines. He deployed to Afghanistan with the Army National Guard, and did a lot of his recruiting out of the University of Northern Iowa with their ROTC program for the National Guard, and then rolled into leadership positions. And after I had left and retired from the National Guard, he became a first sergeant in a different spot, and now that is coming to a conclusion. And I had the opportunity to go over there and to UNI and facilitate that retirement ceremony for him, and it was great to see him once again, and his family, Amy and the boys, and his daughter, and just to see them, how they've grown up. It's been a while since I've seen him. I've talked to him occasionally, and this, that, and the other thing. He's looking forward to, just like I was that time when you retire. He's one of those guys like I am. Like we know when we're retiring. Like we know when we were going to retire. There was nothing that was going to change that. We're not interested in being sergeant majors and moving to Des Moines and all that other stuff. We wanted to serve our area communities and serve in uniform in that regard, and continue on. And then when it was time to go, we left. We retired and moved on to another chapter of our life. And he's been ready to do that, and I was ready to do that when the time came, and knew about it for years in advance. So it was one of those things that just aim towards, and you work till the final day, and then you step into civilian life and move on and become a cattle baron. I don't think he's going to be a cattle baron. I asked him what he was going to do, and he says, hopefully not much. Like, I'm just hoping to participate in the community, maybe do some things that I enjoy. I don't want to travel around all over the place anymore. And that was the same thing for me. I didn't, after spending, years on the road, all over, granted, just all over the state of Iowa. It wasn't like it was, far away, but lots of nights away. And you do miss some things with your kids and all of that. It's not a deployment. It's not a war situation. It's just a job. It's like a traveling salesman, I suppose. And then when you oversee recruiting, then you're on the road even more. And so he and I were doing that at different phases in our in the timeline, but same job, traveling all over the place. And you just kind of want to stay home. That was my dream. I wanted to be able to, wake up and go do chores and walk across the yard that wasn't full of army worms, and then just go to work, whether it's in the shop or here in the studio or whatever it is. And so that's what he's looking forward to doing. And I wish him well. It was great to see him. So that was fun to do that. And the weekend then was just was football. We have a lot of really not great football going on here in Forest City, in the hometown. Huge supporter, obviously, of Forest City Indian football. That's where all of our boys played, and that's where our youngest, Colin, is in his junior year, and he plays a receiver and is also a corner. Sometimes he's a safety, plays both ways, and I think he does a great job, and I think a lot of the players do a great job, and just the reality is that we haven't won a game, not a single game this season. It's been very frustrating for them, but they continue to play their hearts out, and I believe that win will someday come. And then the same thing with Waldorf University football. Huge supporter of the Warriors program. In fact, we have a whole podcast called the Waldorf Gridiron Club podcast. We've been doing that for 4 years. I've been doing that with the co-host Andy Buffington. And all we talk about is Waldorf football, and we're part of the Gridiron Club. I'm the president of the Gridiron Club, and that means we raise money just for football at Waldorf University and help them get stuff to make their program even better. And they have done so much to make their program, just a great culture, great things happening. And then we lost our quarterback early in the first game of the season, and our backups weren't as strong as we were hoping that they would be, and so we're just really struggling on offense. We've only scored a touchdown or two the entire season, a lot of shutouts, and our defense is working hard, but it wouldn't look like it from the scores that you see. We're in the I'm not part of the team, but I mean the Waldorf is part of the Great Plains Athletic Conference, and that is, if you know anything about the GPAC, it's a fantastic conference. Huge. I mean, there's like national champions there. There's always people in the playoffs. You got Northwestern, Morningside, Dort. We got Concordia, Nebraska, who we just played this weekend, and they shut us out. And on and on and on. And there's every week it's a different. You're not quite sure how things are going to go, because every one of these private Christian schools is fighting for a great record, and unfortunately Waldorf didn't win a single game last year, and they haven't won a game yet, and so now they're 0-5, and they were 0-11 last year, so that makes us 0-16, and I think we lost the 2 or 3 games the previous season at the end of the season, so it's like I think we might be 0-17 or 18, so that's frustrating for the players. They keep working hard. They know that next year is going to be tremendously different because they're going to have all of their pieces that are missing back, or healed, or healthy, or eligible. That's a college thing, and so we're just kind of suffering through some frustrating football season stuff as we continue to go to all the games and support it. Because at the end of the day, I can't remember any of my kids' sports scores. None of them. I can't remember. And there's a lot of fabulous memories. I can't remember any of their scores. I just like watching them play, and you support your kids and you support your program, even when they're losing. And I'm not one of those dads that gets angry or upset. I don't question coaching decisions. I don't get upset with this, that, or the other thing. And I certainly don't have commentary running during the game. Well, I have commentary running during the game because if it's a home game, I'm doing the announcing, but that's the only commentary that I'm doing, 2nd down and 7 or whatever it happens to be. And the tackle was made by number 32 or whatever it happens to be. So there's no commentary. And at home, there's conversations, like, are we doing everything that we can? What's going on here? What, blah, blah, blah. But it's never a public thing like that, because that's not helpful either. And so, it's, it's hard to, it's hard to lose all the time. But but playing the game and getting out there and doing their best and really seeing some great things happen is what it's all about. If you're just watching a team to watch them win, that would make you a fair weather fan. And I grew up, we grew up as a Vikings fan, so they're full of fair weather fans. But you just kind of get, you take your highs and your lows, and right now we're in a bit of a slump in both cases, and I believe that they will work their way out of it. That's the great thing about sports, is that every day, every new game is a new challenge and new possibility, and any game can be won. But I will say, the better team on the field that day is the one that wins, and so the goal is to be the better team in whatever ways that you can. So. That was my weekend, but I want to, on Friday, having been down at my friend James Johnson's retirement, one of the folks that I had the opportunity to talk to is another first sergeant, retired from Army National Guard recruiting. And of course, he's been on the program. He's going to be on the program again. That's Jesse Howard. Jesse's coming back to the show here in another week or two. And he's just going to sit down. He's actually going to come into the studio and we'll have the opportunity to chat about a variety of things. He's written a book and he's had great success, and he's doing some other things now. So he's written a book and he's going to come on the show and tell us about that. He's also president of the Iowa Association of School Boards. And I'm, of course, a school board member, school board president myself. And so something that happened, and we chatted just a little bit on Friday because it was breaking news, was the situation with Dr. Ian Roberts, who's the superintendent of the Des Moines public school system. And of course, Des Moines public school system, that is the largest public school system in the state of Iowa. Iowa's just got over 3 million people. There's 32,000 students in the Des Moines public school system. So obviously, clearly the largest district. And it's also the largest, city in the state of Iowa. We're a very rural state, and we have some bigger cities. Des Moines being the largest, and then Cedar Rapids and Iowa City kind of down in that corner, and then out west you've got Council Bluffs, and of course you've got Sioux City. Those are kind of the bigger cities. There's mid-sized cities that would still be considered small towns, around that 30,000 thing, like with Mason City, Fort Dodge, Marshalltown, places like that. So those are the bigger districts in the state of Iowa. Our district, regarding the school district where I live, is very, very, very small, only 1,000 students, just over 1,000 students, and so 30 or 32 times bigger than our district here in Forest City, where I live. And so Dr. Roberts, according to my friend Jesse Howard, he was kind of making me aware of this, what was going on. We were both kind of watching it in real time. Clearly, he's a lot more involved, or at least connected to what's going on than I am, as just a school board president on the north end of the state. And so we were talking about it, and we didn't know what was going on. This is Friday. This is developing news. I don't know if we still know exactly what's going on with Dr. Roberts, but it's a tough situation. That is for sure. And by all accounts, Ian Roberts was doing a great job in Des Moines with the public school. He was motivational. He was an Olympian back in 2000. He ran in the mid distance for Guyana, which is where he's from. That's not an African country. That's a South American country on the north end of South America. And he was born in Guyana, and then was kind of lived and raised in Brooklyn, New York. He had an F1 visa to go to Fordham. He's got an impressive background. He's been an educator for over 20 years. Like I said, he's an Olympic runner. And all of these things are very impressive. Plus, he's an incredibly dapper dude. He's got lots of photographs out there in the news and the media, and he's a snappy dresser. I mean, come on. That is a stylish dude. And I'm sure that when he was applying for the job, and of course when you have when you are applying for a superintendent job, there's a search that goes on, and then there are companies that help you do that search sometimes. With a district the size of Des Moines, I'm sure that all happened. It sounds like they had a search company. It sounds like they had a background check company and a couple of different things going on. And nobody caught the fact that, in 2023 was when he was hired. And then in 2024, in May of 2024 is when he had this order, this final order for his immigration status. That was, so he was given it was, I guess, supposed to be deported or something like that. So some sort of order that happened back in 2024, and so they had hired him in 2023, and by all accounts he was doing a fantastic job. All right, so let's get, we gotta have some common sense about this conversation here, because what I'm hearing, and it's irritating to me. If you haven't figured out yet, I'm skeptical of anybody's conversation, of anybody's take on anything. And I think that's Doesn't mean I'm, pessimistic or anything like that. It just means I'm skeptical, because that's part of being a critical thinker. So talking to my friend Jesse Howard, the president of the Iowa School Board Association, which, by the way, doesn't have anything to do with the situation in Des Moines or superintendents in general. Superintendents work for the school board. So if the school board itself needed assistance, that's what the Iowa School Board Association would be helping with, or Iowa Association of School Boards would be helping with. They don't have any insight or input regarding individual superintendents across all the districts in the state of Iowa. That's not how that works. That belongs to the school board itself. So I'm hearing on some reports that people are just up in arms because here's this dangerous superintendent who he had a loaded gun, and so I heard people say machete, and he had a machete, and so there are weapons charges, okay, but I'm not clear on what the weapons charges are. And let's be clear about guns in Iowa. Republicans, pay attention here. Anybody can carry anytime in the state of Iowa. You can. Now, I don't know how that is affected if you're not if you don't have a legal status. And I think that has been tossed around in the courts a little bit about whether or not you can have whether if you have legal status but you're not a citizen, can you own a gun? That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying let's put it into perspective there, sweetheart. Like we're talking about the state of Iowa, where for the last few years anyway, it's open carry. Anybody can have a gun. Anybody. I mean, you can't have a gun if you're a felon, which he's not. You can't have, there are certain rules and all of that, but we love guns in Iowa. You're allowed to have guns. It's the same people that are saying that these weapons charges are putting our children in danger are the same people that have essentially some sort of a centerfold of a new gun in their bathroom so that they can enjoy it. And look at it because they love guns. So it seems to me to be a silly argument. I have guns. My guns, guess what? Most of the time they're loaded. Why? Because they're not much good if they're not loaded. And so he clearly understands how to use guns. He's an avid hunter. All right. We like hunting in Iowa. And so he likes to hunt. He did have a weapons charge back in Pennsylvania. So he comes as an experienced superintendent. So he wasn't the Des Moines Public Schools were not the only school district in the universe to hire Ian Roberts on his qualifications. He had been back in Pennsylvania. He was a superintendent. I forget let me see here where this was. But he did have some sort of a weapons charge back then, but let me explain what that weapons charge was. I'm just trying to find where this thing happened. It's somewhere in Pennsylvania. Yeah, okay, Pennsylvania. He was the superintendent of Mill Creek School District, and so back in November of 2021, he got fined $100 by the Pennsylvania Game Commission for having a loaded rifle in his vehicle while he was hunting back in November of 21. So he's an avid hunter. This is consistent with where he's been throughout the country, and we like hunting. My superintendent, who by the way is the best superintendent in the state. I'm not just saying that. He actually has the award to prove it from last year. He's the reigning champion, if there is such a thing, the best superintendent in the state of Iowa, Darwin Lehman. He is also a hunter, and he'll take time off to go hunting. Now, he was born in Nebraska, as far as I know. Perhaps I'll have to check with Darwin, make sure that's the case now. Maybe that's a thing. But so it doesn't bother me that Ian Roberts is a hunter. And he was given a $100 fine in Pennsylvania back in 21 for having a loaded rifle in his vehicle, and he put the gun in his vehicle because he was hunting. And the Game Commission, Pennsylvania Game Commission, the ranger or whoever cited him. But this guy's a superintendent. He's an educator. He is a black man. And I'm not saying I'm not going the extreme left on this, like everything that happens if a person of color means that it's automatically racism. But times being what they are, in 2021, he's out by himself and he's got a loaded gun. He puts it in his vehicle so that he, as he told the Erie Times News, that he had planned to unload it before he drove his vehicle away. So it wasn't like he was driving around in it, but he put his rifle in there in his vehicle to ensure that the warden did not feel unsafe or threatened in any way while they talked, which makes perfect sense to me because look, I mean, two guys in the woods, one wears a badge and the other one doesn't. I don't care if you're a black guy or a white guy or whatever. The game warden is going to come away if he has to shoot somebody because he felt threatened, and things are going to go in his favor. So I can see how an intelligent human being would say, just going to go ahead and put this gun over here in my vehicle. And then, of course, Dick move. They go ahead and give him a citation for having a loaded weapon in his vehicle. That was in 2021 in Pennsylvania. What can you do? Because the DNR is always right. But then he gets hired by Des Moines in 2023. He's got a stellar record. Apparently nobody did a E-Verify to determine what his situation was with the immigration status. Probably didn't think about it. And whether the Des Moines public school system didn't do that themselves, and they didn't, and their organization that they hired to do those things for them with the background checks, they didn't do that either. And so I guess it's a little bit of egg on their face. But is it? I mean, is it really? So on the one side, you've got I guess a lot of maybe conservatives or the people on the right that are trying to paint, and including the DHS, Department of Homeland Security, they can go pound sand on this one. They automatically say, well, this is a dangerous human being. He's putting our kids in Des Moines in jeopardy. He's got a loaded weapon. Why would he have a gun in his vehicle? Why would he have a hunting knife? Why would a black guy have a loaded gun and a hunting knife in his vehicle? Why would that be? I mean, let it lay off. Tell us exactly what these weapons charges are. Exactly. Right now, even the Des Moines Register can't come up with anybody giving them an answer about, well, what exactly are these weapons charges you are referring to? There was something involving Port Authority a couple of years ago, or at some point, but no one's releasing what these weapons charges are. So that's annoying to me that it gets lay off of that. And it's like you are automatically impugning a person's character because you're like, well, he's got guns, so you know what that means. No, I don't. I've got guns. I often have guns on me. And guess what? They're loaded. Why? Because that's how you use them. And I'm out, and there's what's it, and I don't. I also carry I don't carry a hunting knife because I don't have. It's not one of my hobbies. It's one of my son's hobbies. But I always have a knife on me because I'm a man. And I have a knife on me, and a knife is incredibly useful. If you grow up on a farm, you got a knife. So I'm not so like, as an Iowan, these are two things that do not bother me. Oh, he's got a gun and he's got a knife. That seems normal and reasonable. But they're like, but he had $3,000 cash. Why would a man have $3,000 cash on his body? Well, I don't know. And you know what? It's not illegal to have $3,000 cash on you. So that to me is irritating too. Like the ICE or the Department of Homeland Security, they put this out and they paint this image like, here's this guy. He's got a gun and he's got a knife and he's got $3,000 cash. And I'm like, well, look how he dresses. I mean, he could have just been going to buy one outfit. It looks like his dress is pretty nice. I mean, he could, maybe he's got $3,000 cash for that. Maybe he likes to have bills in his pocket because he comes from a really poor country of less than 1 million people. And so it's nice to have bills. It doesn't matter. It's not against the law to have money in your pocket. And when is cash even a bad thing? That's ridiculous. In fact, there are many times, I'm not going to say when but in the past, I would buy something off of Facebook, maybe for the farm, some Facebook marketplace piece of equipment because I don't like buying new equipment. because depreciation rates are actually pretty reasonable even for used equipment. So there's a whole reason for it. But so maybe we'll pay some dude Facebook guy that I met and want to buy a piece of equipment. I might have $3,000 or $4,000 cash money. Boom, here you go. I go to the bank, I get the money, I give it to the guy, I get my equipment. That's how it works. Now, I'm not saying he was buying a manure spreader or anything like that. What I am saying is, like, people carry around cash. That's not against the law. So this whole thing irritates me. He had $3,000 cash, a hunting knife, and a loaded gun, and also his socks were very colorful. What do you think about that? I don't think anything about that because I'm not a moron. So that can go over here. I'm not certain that that's a problem. On the other side of the issue, the leftist lunatics are like we need to destroy ICE. ICE has kidnapped Ian Roberts. Well, the order came out in 2024 under Biden, and so that's 16-month-old order. So I know that, so it's not a Trump administration thing. It is Trump administration now because the Trump administration has given ICE a lot more money to enforce it. They've taken 16 months to find this guy and to arrest him based on the order that was put out back in May of 2024. There was a second or another hearing in 2025 in February of 2025, right? And it was done in absentia. In other words, Ian Roberts didn't show up. I think that Dr. Roberts knew that this stuff was going on. He clearly knew about his personal status as a non-citizen in the United States. It appears that he did lied by admission about his citizenship status to the Des Moines public school systems. And then with these other incidences and the fact that he drove off in this case, that's never a good thing. It's going to be very difficult for Dr. Roberts to win a citizenship case, any type of hearing now because of the actions that he did do, which was, he did drive off from being stopped. That's not a good thing to do. And then he did, there is a question about ownership of weapons. I am suspicious and skeptical of weapons charges, like when they don't specify exactly. If I did a good job explaining to you the situation in Pennsylvania, I can imagine that the other situation is probably similar to that. Weapons charges sounds much more insidious than perhaps a dude who didn't want to get shot by a game warden in the middle of the woods while hunting and puts his loaded gun in his vehicle, which is against the law. You can't have a loaded gun in your vehicle. Okay, maybe you should just throw it on the floor, throw it on the ground and be like, that's loaded because I'm a hunter. Whatever. So there's probably situations like that, but it's going to, these other circumstances do make it difficult. He did not, I can't believe that he's got a PhD, that he's an educator, that his purpose is to hold administrators, educators themselves, and then also the children by, in that order by, to account, isn't cognizant of his own status. So that's going to be very difficult for him to stay in the United States. And this is what all of the the immigration lawyers are saying. They're like, well, this case is going to be very difficult. He didn't show up in Texas in last year or in February of this year. Last year the order came out, and he probably knew about that in 2023 when he was hired. He either by it, just he said he was a citizen and he wasn't. And so that's going to put him in, he's going to go back to Guyana. And then there's all these lunatics that are out there protesting. There's like 11 or 12, hundreds across the state, hundreds that are, and then there's another one that is, there's another protest that is being organized this Wednesday. I won't be at it because we'll be handling my father-in-law's funeral, but there is a there's another protest that is being organized by Karens across the state, and they're saying that ICE kidnapped him, and ICE needs to be abolished. And hey, I'm with you when it comes to getting rid of government bureaucracy. We can get one agency after another can go away. I think when it comes to law enforcement agencies, it needs to be a 2-for-1 deal. Like if you get rid of one law enforcement agency to get rid of government bureaucracy, you need to get rid of 2 or maybe 3 other agencies that aren't law enforcement related. And I'd be perfectly fine with that. As you know, let's do that. Start with the Department of Education, on and on and on. We can list. There's Department of the Interior. There's so many. I'm for eliminating those things, but they're doing it because they're mad and they're upset and they're uneducated when it comes to the situation and the law. And so they go. I can see no benefit in going out and ranting in public and repeating some chant over and over again, which is basically what protests are. Is like you go and you participate in some weird, liberal liturgy and repeat, the mantra of somebody whose, depth of understanding is an inch deep and a mile wide. And so that's not something that I'm going to do. And that's stuff that is happening. We're going to have to see how this all plays out. So I'm not on either side on this situation. I don't support the crazies on one side that say that why would he have a gun and why would he have $3,000 cash? Why would he have these things? He must be a threat. So if any Republican says he's a threat to the children of the Des Moines public school system, that person might qualify as the village idiot. And then at the same time, if you're over here and you're just protesting and you've spent a lot of time in your basement making signs and you feel like you're really making a difference in that regard, but you don't understand how the law works and that it happened under your favorite administration just 16 months ago, and now it's just being, it's not the ICE. It's not the officers of ICE. They're not the problem here. They're enforcing the law. And I saw a lawyer who was on the left side saying that I guess basically she believes that there's certain laws you shouldn't have to enforce, which tells me probably not a very good lawyer. If there's a law, you enforce it. And if you break the law, you have to be, as Sammy Davis Jr. once sang, if you do the crime, you've got to be willing to do the time. And all of that is happening at the same time. Dr. Ian Roberts was a fantastic superintendent for Des Moines Public Schools. That is also true, and really had them heading in the right direction. And they are facing at the same time, I think it's like nearly $250 million bond issue that they're doing for public schools in Des Moines that Des Moines is going to have to face. And anytime you have a superintendent, they are really the primary spokesperson and the cheerleader for any type of bond issue. And if listening to this show in the past, I'm very critical of the Iowa legislature. They cannot keep their hands out of the public schools. They have no oversight of the private schools, and they are also trying to limit people, independent districts' ability to for bonds, timing of bond issues, and then also just even being able to do tax, or voter supported levies. Like they want to manage voter supported levy rates because they are also working diligently to qualify as village idiots. Independent school districts are elected bodies of. Like I'm an elected person, and if you don't like what I do in our district, you can run against me, and that'd be fine. And so, or any one of the 7 that we have of us that are on the board, we don't get paid to be a school board member in the state of Iowa. Nobody does, including the Des Moines Public Schools. Those are volunteer positions for which they're elected. Their president in the Des Moines Public Schools. She is named Jackie Norris. She's the current president. So school board presidents, your board elects you the president. And sometimes they, I've been the president for the last couple of years, but anybody can be president. I mean, it's not like it's hard. You just get more conversations from the superintendent and things like that. So Jackie Norris is the Des Moines Public Schools she's the president of their school board. She's currently also running for Senate because Joni Ernst is not running, and so she's running on the Democratic ticket to be a senator, which is a paid position. But the two things are not related. I think that Republicans are going to hit her hard on this as she, ramps up her election and says, like, how did you not know? And she wasn't the president when they hired him in 2023, but she was on the board. She's had a career of, she worked for Goodwill Industries. I don't know where her money comes from, because to run for Senate, you got to have I don't know. I think just to run for state office, you have to have like $250,000 that you can show your party that you've got. So I'm guessing a federal office is more like $1 million. So she's got to have that. But she's got a lot of connections. She came to Iowa in 1998 as a 27 or 28-year-old to help Tom Vilsack get elected. So thanks for that. And Tom went on to become governor for a couple of terms, actually. And then he moved to Washington, D.C., where he lived, and I think he continues to live. Maybe he's still got a place back in Iowa. And so, so very well connected within the Democratic Party. And I think she's doing fine. She seems like she's doing fine at the as far as handling the media regarding the situation with Dr. Roberts. I've met her, but I don't know her, and I'm sure she doesn't know me, just one of the school board, association things. And so it's just two different worlds. So one thing is not necessarily related to the other, but I am sure that the Republicans will definitely like to, well, they have to. They're going to bring it up, in the election as it continues to carry on with Jackie Norris. But when you're the school board president, you just talk to the superintendent more, and that's what it amounts to. So she didn't get paid to do that. She came to Iowa in '98 and decided to live here and raise a family, and she did. And her kids are in 3 kids are all in military academies, and she's been in Iowa ever since. So that's really. I don't think that anything nefarious is going on other than, the law is being enforced and people don't like it one way or the other. It is high profile, which is astounding. But at the end of the day, you got to remember that as good of a job as Ian Roberts has done for the Des Moines public school system, he did leave out some critical information on purpose. And there are some things that he wasn't telling the board, and that is that's problematic. And ultimately, he's the one that's going to pay for that, and it's going to end up in him being returned, I think, to his native country of Guyana. And it's an unfortunate situation, and that's all I know about it. That's all anybody knows about it. There's the Des Moines Register is still looking for information. The national news is looking for information. People probably have opinions on one way or the other. I feel bad for him. I think he, like I said, by all accounts, he was doing a great job. He certainly motivated people, and he's a fantastic dresser. I mean, come on. How hard would that be to get hired by the Des Moines public school system, the Board of Education? Like, they're not dapper dressers like this dude. He walks in, and they're like, man, this guy's got something. And he does got something. Unfortunately, he's going to have to take it back, I think, when this is all said and done, to South America, which is too bad. But that's the law, and so that's my take on it. I guess we'll keep you updated. Maybe when Jesse comes, he might be limited to some degree in what he can say. I'm free to say whatever I want, but we'll probably talk about more. We'll know more by then. By the time Jesse's on the show with us in a little bit. But anyway, that's the story of what's going on. That's what I wanted to talk to you about. Here's the deal. It's a show about being the sunny side of other people's lives. And I can tell you, whether it's our superintendent, Darwin Lehman, who does a great job for our school district, and another school district, we share him with North Iowa. We also, in the past, we shared him with Central Springs, or it's Ian Roberts, or any of the superintendents across the state. They are tasked with a CEO-like position of managing a very large organization. A lot of times in the small towns in which we live, the biggest organization, the biggest employer in town. And so we have a direct responsibility to manage as school boards our money that the taxpayers provide for us so that we can continue to provide that world-class education that we're trying to achieve, taking care of our kids, keeping them safe in our schools, and doing all of those things. So superintendents, whether you realize it or not, along with the administrators and the teachers in all of our public schools, they are doing a great job, and they are making our lives better, teaching our kids the things that we want them. We have to tell them what we want them to teach. Like, that's our job. Like, they have to. That's what they're hired for. They are employees of the public, and so we want to make sure that we're always heading in the right direction, whatever it might be. But they're tremendous service to our community. They get paid for it. It's their job. It's their career. It's their chosen profession. And so they are, whether it's a teacher or an administrator or a superintendent of a district, certainly the Sunnyside of many, many, many people's lives, particularly our children. And as far as that goes, I can say the same thing about my good friend James Johnson. Wish him well in his retirement. I know that he listens to this show, and so it's congratulations. You and your family go out and do great things. And like I said, in your retirement, just don't stop serving. Once you're done, First Sergeant, with the Army, and you take that uniform off, which I know you didn't like to wear very often anyway, you take that uniform off, you put it away, this chapter is closed, and you go out and you continue to lend your time to the things in your community, whether they're civic organization or organizations or school organizations or church or whatever it happens to be. You just go out and you give of yourself, because that's what soldiers do to win the battle of this life and be the sunny side of so many other people's life. And the only thing that I would say is not, real sunny is these damn army worms. Get rid of those army worms, and then it will be a sunny side, back to normal, as we soon hope it will be. All right, folks, that's it for this week. I hope to talk to you again next week and do the best that I can to bring some cheer and some humor and some insight into what's going on, if that's what matters. And we always try to have some good guests. As Adam Upmeyer reminded me, those shows are much more interesting to him when we have another voice on there. So we'll get back to that as well. Thanks for listening, and always go out there, try to be for yourself the sunny side of someone else's life.
When the shadows fall and doubts begin to creep, remember, together we're strong, never weak. Lift your neighbor up with kindness every day. Let your actions speak the words you want to say.
The Sunny Side of Life is a weekly production about our life on the family farmstead here in Iowa, the liberties we prize, and the pursuits which make us happy. None of this is possible, of course, without Christ in our lives. For the Lord God is our sun and our shield. He gives us grace and glory.
Be the sunny side of someone else's life. Share your light and joy through struggle and strife. Keep your heart open and your soul always bright. Together we will share this sunny side life. Be the sunny side of someone else's life. Share your light and joy through struggle and strife. Keep your heart open and your soul always bright. Together we will share this sunny side life.
May the Lord bless you and keep you, and may the sunny side of your life in Christ be made evident unto you each and every day, and give you peace.